Hi, this is Anirban Saha, and you're listening to one new episode of GWF podcasts, where we interview one impactful conservationist. The idea behind the Global Wildlife Fair is fairly simple: to have more of the younger people in the world of the wild, and not just as a scientist or a forest officer, but also as filmmakers, illustrators, photographers, thinkers, you name it, or just nature lovers. Conservation needs all of us, and it all starts with stories, impactful stories, real stories. Each episode, we will try to interview somebody who has broken the mold, who has gone out of their way to do something meaningful for the natural world in their own little ways. This is the fifth episode, and we have with us Sudarshan Shaw. He has come up with very interesting concepts of mixing folk art with wildlife, and he uses that for conservation. In this discussion, we will be touching a lot of topics, but before that, Sudarshan, welcome to GWF podcasts.
Thank you so much, Anirban. It's a pleasure to be here.
We can start the discussion with some context. Context like paint as a picture. At what point in time you thought, okay, this is really interesting. We can mix folk art with wildlife. So what led you to this? So this shall set the context for our discussion.
Okay. So there's a lot of context to, as in where I should begin, visualizing, showing to the audience what exactly led to, the mixture of, the joining hands of folk and culture. So I would take you back to 2017 when I was doing my graduation in my college, and I went to visit Ranthambore National Park. So this was a very formal introduction for me into the wild. I mean, visiting a national park very formally. You're taking tickets to go inside the park. You are listening to a lot of people talking about tigers in Ranthambore, because obviously that's what they are famous for. And slowly and slowly, you get to hear stories about tigers. You get to see that there are characters within tigers that essentially wasn't known to you. So you get to hear these stories. You get to see a lot of art and nature drawing that is drawn over there related to the tigers or any other animals which is quite famous over there. So I visited a lot of those areas. For example, Dastakar in Ranthambore is quite famous for that, and they portray stories from the wild onto the textiles. So that was a very interesting visual for me to take to grasp, and that is the point I can say I thought that visual medium and art could be the best way to showcase all these stories. So that is when they met.
How were you introduced to folk art? Because in our generation, not a lot of people uh, get into folk art. Like when I started exploring Alpona, I did not find many people who are willing to get into different regional art forms, traditional art forms, and continue with that. Or so tell us about that.
Okay. So again, I mean, this visit to National Park, Ranthambore National Park, was not limited in terms of seeing wildlife. I also got to see fur paintings. So these are the regional folk art of Rajasthan, the fur folk art. So that is when I realized that there is a very, there's a nature to the art that the people over there draw. They have a style of their own, a unique style, which is regional in nature, and the portrayal of regional stories as well. So that was the first formal introduction to folk art for me. But that also, opened a gate to imagination, as in from where I belong to. I mean, I belong to Odisha, and I have grown up seeing a lot of visualization of various themes, stories, awareness drives in their local style called Patachitra in Odisha, right? And so I thought that in this case, it had become like a blind spot because there was a massive use of this art in our cities. So for art, for folk art was the formal introduction, and then Patachitra, and then Kalighat art of West Bengal. These were the art that subconsciously, took into me, and yeah, this was my introduction to folk art.
But then you took it forward. You made map, mapping, no, putting wildlife on a university campus. So was that decision very conscious? Like, if we do it this way, then we will get response. If we do it any other way, we will not get response. So was it a very conscious decision to take traditional art forms to reach out to more people, or was it something that came to you naturally?
Okay, so the first map that I made, the Folk Indica Biodiversity Map, was my home state, Odisha. So this was during COVID, and I thought, why not take this opportunity, study the folk art of my place, and uh, use that folk art, the layout and medium of folk art, to create awareness about our biodiversity that is present around us. So folk art, the biodiversity map of Odisha was the first one, and that eventually led to me being commissioned the state biodiversity map of Andhra Pradesh. And then eventually that led to the creation of the biodiversity map of a campus, which was Sivnada University in Haryana. So I would like to show you the map that I had drawn first. Uh,
Definitely.
yeah, is it visible?
Could somebody just respond if that is visible to you in the chat section? Just respond with a yes, because it is visible to me.
I hope it is visible to everyone.
I guess. Let's continue.
Okay, so this is the wildlife map of Odisha, and this was the first one that I drew. Obviously, as you can see, there's a layout which is very traditional in nature, and the Patachitra folk art is very close to the heart of Odia people, right? Uh,
Yes.
each and every Odia home would have a folk art. I mean, folk art from Patachitra in their house, in their walls. So I thought this is so holy to the people. This is so close to the people. Why not take that space to create awareness? So I used the layout, the traditional layout of the original folk art that is drawn in Patachitra, and then replaced or substituted it with the biodiversity around us. So this was the first one. Then I'll jump on to the second one, which was the commission map. So this was commissioned by the Andhra Pradesh Forest Department. And as you can see, again, a traditional Kalamkari folk art was used as a layout to portray the various biodiversity that is available in Andhra Pradesh. And along with that, I've also showcased the various tribes, the people who are the actual stakeholders in biodiversity, who live with the natural world. So I've put it that as well. So when I draw the biodiversity map, it is not limited to wildlife. I try my level best to bring in the people, the stakeholders, the natives of the land who have a good close relation with the biodiversity, with nature, and try to portray them as well. So I consider them wild as well. So this was the map that I was talking about, which was commissioned, and post this I did the Sivnada University campus map. Yeah.
This is fascinating. Uh, wh- uh, what kind of response did you get, say, from the younger people or people who are more experienced, like people of the earlier generation? Uh, Also, if you could explain in a way where we explore the kind of response you got, say, in Odisha and Andhra versus you got in Haryana. Okay, because people in Odisha are a lot closer to Pottochitro than maybe some people from other part of India. I'm just making an assumption. And my second assumption would be that older people are closer to folk art than younger people. So having these two assumptions as premise, how exactly was the response like?
Okay. I'll start with the latter one, that older people are much closer to folk art. I would say to a point, a point, yes, they are closer because while they lived their lives, the early days, they were, in closer proximity to such kind of arts that were used to create awareness. But given the opportunity to younger people, if we showcase these styles, if we use it in a contemporary way, they will relate to it as well. And coming to the reaction that people have had regarding the maps and the artworks, as you can see, these are very close to the traditional medium that I have used, right? It is Sri Kalamkari Kalahasti and the Patachitra from Odisha. So, needless to say, I mean, as I said earlier, folk art of Patachitra is very close to the heart of Odia people, right? It is
Yeah, it
directly
is.
with Lord Jagannath. It
Hmm.
was drawn in the walls of the beautiful temple of Jagannath. So there was a beautiful response to it. People, ordered for prints of the map as well. And if we come to the Andhra Pradesh map, as it was commissioned by the Forest Department and eventually it went to various offices of the state, I got a letter from the Secretary of India, Finance Secretary of India, who came across the map and she wrote a very beautiful letter saying how she was engrossed for some hours looking at the map. So it gives a lot of motivation to me when people, stare at it, understand it, see the details, and try to understand what exactly the artist wanted to showcase. Other than that, it's a very beautiful. A question that how do people from different region perceive different type of art, right? So the folk art, the biodiversity map of Odisha was well received in Odisha, but needless to say, obviously, the people of different states would want their own, regional folk art to be used to portray their own states. So, as we came across the Andhra map, I'm happy to share that many other states contacted me to, make the state maps of their biodiversity and using their own regional art that is practiced over there. So the response has been very good, and I've been continuously working on various maps for states. Departments who want to use such kind of art to portray their biodiversity, and along with that, because of the need of various people from various regions, I also wanted to create a contemporary style which will which will be relatable to people across the state, across the country, across the world, because I don't want to bind it to a certain principle of folk art. I can study the folk art, but I can take visual clues from it, understand the principles, and apply it into a contemporary way so that it is received well.
I have a lot to say on this, to be very honest, because even in 1930s, people in Bengal tried, making Alpona as a contemporary Indian art form. You're also trying the same thing now in 2025. How is the response from the younger people who make the mass? Because when you say that people sitting in positions of prominence asking for maps to be made, that is more of a top down approach where people who are important, who have offices, they commission you to work. And then the expectation is that the mass will like it, right? So how has the mass responded to you, to
Okay.
your art form?
See, Anirban, however young the generation may be, instinct wise, there is a reason it is called folk art. Folk, which literally translates to the people, right? So, this has been practiced for a long time, since ages. So, even though in today's time we are, there's globalization and we are seeing a lot of stuff in the internet, lots of languages, lots of art styles, colors, and if I can be honest, there's a lot of pastels coming in. So when you draw something like this in this traditional style with traditional forms and colors which are very primary in nature, very earthy in nature, it gives a sense of, it brings a sense of curiosity among the youth as well. Because there's a lot of demand among the youth to create something new, to see something new among all that is available in the internet. So the has been very positive. I mean, people, even commission, like, how it's a trend that people want to see some photographs in a comic style, or some photographs in a traditional style. So there's a lot of demand to see the variations, and folk art has a lot of detail in it in terms of variations and layers, which can bring a lot of curiosity among the youth as well. So there's been a good response pertaining to that.
In your field of work, if somebody is trying to mix folk art or traditional art forms in the domain of wildlife, and if somebody is trying to make a career out of it, what tips would you like to give to that person?
Okay, so first thing is, if it's about wildlife, as you said, or an illustrator in the field of wildlife, I mean, whatever the subject is, the first thing is to dive deep into it. For example, if it's wildlife, you have to, be passionate about it. You have to contact the stakeholders involved in the field, because you get a lot of perspectives from the stakeholders in the various field, right? And if you want to do something related to art, or you want to become an illustrator in this field, you have to see a lot of work from different artists, a lot of variety of work that is available in and around you. You have to visit those galleries, read books, so that you get to know a niche which you can create. And when you create something which is scarce, or create something which has a, a kind of space, because you have understood the stakeholders involved, then you can create a career eventually after doing a lot of work into it.
What are your views on AI making art now?
Regarding artificial intelligence, I mean, in a way, it's a machine, right? So it's not new. AI might be a new term, but if you, since ages, there has been a lot of introduction in terms of machine learning and industrial revolution. At that time, people used to fear the use of machines and how manual labor would be reduced and uses of humans would be reduced. But you see, eventually, when you get away from humans, that is what becomes more of a value. So, in this world of AI, what it lacks is the creative, the juice that comes from human. So, if you look at that, humans can be creative, machines cannot be. They have to replicate the prompts, they have to use what is available and bring it. So humans, over here, the children who want to deep dive into this field, they have to create, use their brain. That is what machines cannot do, right? So rather than fearing about it, you must value what is human in nature. And I think if you value that, then the value of it remains, and you don't have to fear about what has to come in future. So there's a lot of potential and scope still available in the present for us. Yeah, and if you look at the future, which is the introduction of AI, I think the value of human work, the handmade work, will eventually increase a lot more. This is what I believe.
But when somebody tries to make a career out of it, a lot of young designers, artists feel that their demand will increase because there will be a cheaper variant of similar nature that AI will churn out.
Hmm.
On this premise, Chitra Mishra Sharma asks, do you feel AI would be able to replicate your kind of art? That's a fear among a lot of younger artists today, and you know that.
Yeah. If the fear is of it replicating your art, the fear is genuine, but it's unethical. And we know if things are unethical, then you have to make laws for it. It's only I mean, the amount of work that you can do to, safeguard it is eventually depending on what kind of powers you have. But in the field of art, though it is very subjective in nature, and especially when you're talking about folk art, which literally means people practicing that art, right? You don't have a much say on it. The only thing I believe is to, you have to keep on working hard and working. You have to create a lot of work so that the originality of that, the creativity and the concept of the originals remain there.
But not a lot of people can come up with original work, right? So let's, at this point in time, let's pick this topic up and go back to your childhood. You have often mentioned that you have grown up in Bhubaneswar and Kolkata. How has your childhood encouraged you to do original work? Let's put it very bluntly.
So, I mean, I was born and brought up in Bhubaneswar, and my maternal grandmom's home is in Kolkata. My mother is from Kolkata, so all those summer vacations used to be in Kolkata, and this regular to and fro. If people have been to Kolkata or Bhubaneswar or any other city in these two states, they will get what I'm talking about. I mean, this land is each nook and corner of this land is filled with art and craft. Uh, if I talk about my city of Bhubaneswar, I mean each corner of the city has stone sculptures. This is also called the city of temples. So a lot of art is available all over the place. You see lots of stone carvings. You see lot of portrayals of languages on palm leaves. So all of these subconsciously build into you, and you don't have to be original from the beginning. I mean, you replicate stuff, you start learning the process, you create stuff, and then your mind eventually starts working towards creating newer stuff because you want to create something new which isn't present now. So that leads to creation. So when I talk about creating something new, what it eventually leads to is to have a deeper understanding. So when you are saying you have to create new, so the prerequisite for that is to learn more, deep dive more into what is available around you, study more. That will eventually lead you to innovate or create.
Talking about studying more and diving deeper, there's a question from a person called M. For a child who is interested in art and folk art, what would you advise them in terms of books, workshops, practice, and anything else that you can add? Pretty
Okay.
big question.
Yeah. I mean, it can have a simple answer, but I would like to go with the other one, which is you don't have to, pick up art books necessarily. It has to be anything. I mean, we have got eyes. We just have to see through each and everything. For example, I'm a birder myself, and I birds have become a medium for me to venture into the wild, right? So I necessarily do not have to draw only birds because I love them, but they have become a gateway to nature for me. So that leads to me knowing different stories that are hidden in the forest. That leads me to knowing different stories from the people who have been living in the forest. So it doesn't have to be a book, any particular book. But if you ask me, quite literally, there are many books available. I mean, there are organizations who have been working uh, precisely in this, I mean, nature and art category. So you have lots of book available in the internet. You just have to type the correct words. I mean, other than that, you just have to be open-minded. You have to look across whatever you see, venture more into the natural world, uh, venture out of your room. I think that will create, give you a lot of motivation and understanding.
I see you're trying to show Bagchal, the other one.
Yeah.
Tell us more about this.
Okay. So this artwork was done for Central Indian landscapes by an organization called A3, and this was to tell people, educate people about the challenges that is faced in our country with regards to tigers and how tigers traverse the heart of India and what are the challenges that they face. As you can see, the layout over here is of the tiger's walk. So there are pug marks, and I've used those pug marks layout to incorporate the stories and the situations that is, I mean, the conflicts that the tiger faces and the various challenges that it has traversing to the heart of India. And what this artwork does is makes people aware regarding the challenges that we face in. It's very easy to boast about how there are so many tigers in our country, more than 3,500 to be approximately, and there's a price that we pay. There are people who lead a very difficult life than us, and that's the price they pay for the tigers to walk freely in this country. So when you're understanding these nuances, you will get to know how different stakeholders, how those challenges are met, and I wanted to portray that in an artwork. So I call this Bak Chal.
Incredible. And I also noticed that you have something on West Bengal.
Yeah. So
What is this about?
yeah. So this is about the elephant corridors. Elephant,
Okay.
as you all must be knowing, is our heritage animal, and it holds a quite significant. I mean, the relationship between elephants and humans in our country, particularly, has been very significant from age-old times to the modern world, and we have seen how this conflicts, modern-day conflicts, have eventually led to their numbers decreasing a lot, right? So. Through these paintings, I have drawn the challenges that the elephants face in our country, and this is a state-wise depiction of the same. As to people be made aware about what are the challenges the animal faces in their own state, and what are the cultural and traditional relationships we have with the elephants, and what are the areas they are still what are the walking path that still exist in our country and the various states. So this is one of them, the rite of passage elephant corridors of West Bengal and the rite of passage elephant corridors of Odisha. Over here also you can see the relationship we had is portrayed over here and the challenges that the elephants face.
This is incredible. Did you work on some other state and some other animals? And since you mentioned that you love birds, did you do something on birds?
Yeah, I mean, if I talking about the elephant one, this was commissioned by Wildlife Trust of India, and I made five such maps for five different states where elephants are uh, uh, bigger in number compared to the other states. So I drew for that, and yes, I'm a big I mean, you can say I love birds. I love to, see birds, create it in different styles. So I have some artworks for that as well. Over here, you can see there are many birds that I have drawn in folk indica style. That is the art style that I have. That is my unique interpretation of studying various folk art in our country and linking it to the stories available in our country and creating this contemporary style, which I call folk indica. So these are some of the species found in Rajasthan, which I have drawn in my own art style called folk indica.
Plum. I can say plum-headed parakeet. I can say flamingos, storks, bustard, vulture. Vulture. That is vulture, right? Egyptian vulture. I can't see. Let me zoom in and see. That's Egyptian vulture. Saros crane. Oh my god, this looks so lovely. And if you are attending this session, um, maybe write down what all you can spot from this. Oh my god, this is incredible. But let's come back to your childhood. When traditionally a lot of children while growing up think of choosing a career. And yes, we have all grown up. Like even I have grown up in Calcutta. I have grown up in the midst of different forms of art. At what point of time you thought that okay, I have to be an artist and not choose the way our parents kind of push us, engineering, medical, and law, and etc. So, at what point you were convinced that you want to be an artist?
Okay. So that way, I was very fortunate. I'm fortunate enough that all of my family members never had any, never saw any future through them for me. So I was always encouraged to do art and like art and drawing might be a hobby for some, it was not for me. Whenever I drew it passionately. I studied them. I studied creatures around me, and whatever I drew it in my own capacity in terms of, with a lot of freedom. And I've always been encouraged by family members. So it was not very tough for me to, eventually land into this field. But because in India we have to go through a mainstream kind of a career choice, I, I did my communication design from NIFT, and eventually I did work in a design agency in Gurgaon for 5 years. And it was only during COVID that I thought into, creating my own space and creating my own style and working for what is essentially a hot topic today and is very necessary for us to, be reminded of is biodiversity and conservation. So yeah, this is what has brought me to this career path. But yeah, eventually it led to this. But yeah, we all have been through, learning skills and applying it in mainstream jobs. And I too worked there for 5 years, and eventually I came to this.
Shreya Mantena asks, do you study the corridors yourself? Slash, do you take part in the research that goes into this work? So basically, do you dive deeper into finding the data, analyzing the data before depicting it in an art form? Is that correct, Shreya? I kind of rephrased it a lot.
No, the question is important because as artists, in order to create something which is justified, which is helpful to people, you also ought to be able to understand the nature of work that you're going to do, and the research is very important part of our work. And if I could say 50 to 60% of our time when you're doing working on an artwork or any publication kind of design, 50 to 60% of the time goes in research. And thankfully, because of technology and this organization's push to R&D, they help me a lot, providing data from the field. Because it's difficult as an artist to, venture out into the field and study elephants, because these kind of data are, put together from a research of about 10, 15, 20 years. So it's impossible for me as an artist to venture into the field all the time. But my visits altogether give me an idea of what kind of research goes into it. But eventually, I'm handed out. The researchers are also handed out, and then you have to work on the kind of data you want to portray, and you also work on the data that needs to be portrayed to create maximum awareness of it. So research, I mean, it holds holds a very important place in our artwork.
So it's like the researchers do the research, they come up with what the behavior of animal is like, what the kind of issues they're facing in conservation in their normal lives, the threats, etc. And you're given that entire set of information slash data, and your job is to now communicate. And you studied communication design, right?
Yeah.
Um as a mode of communication, you have started with folk art, you have tried various folk arts from different parts of India, and now you're trying to create one unified contemporary version of all folk arts, which would resonate with the rest of the world. Did I understand you correctly?
Correctly, and that style is called folk indica.
You have named it folk indica.
Yeah.
Tell us a bit about that.
Okay. So, as you rightly pointed out, initially I was working with different regional art, but as you know, time is very limited when you're working on a certain subject, and it's quite impossible to visit each nook and corner of India to understand what the regional visual language is, because there are some folk art which are more popular than the other ones, and information about them is available plenty in the internet. But and the lesser known subjects, the lesser known visual languages coming from remote places of India are not usually found on the internet. So it's difficult for you to travel and get knowledge about the same, because it's not very well documented. Also, because we have been oral rich society, and it has not been documented well enough. So what I did was to study the principles of various folk art, of the data of which I could gather. And for example, the Patachitra art, Kali Ghat, Kalamkari, be it fur paintings, Matani Pacheri, and various other art. And I took the principles of those. By principles, I mean the forms, the silhouettes, the primariness of the colors, the textures that are used to portray it in the traditional mediums, and all of those combined with the local stories and a bit of modern touch to it, so that it is relatable to a global audience. So this is what folk indica is all about.
But Sudarshan, India is like extremely diverse. The kind of folk art we see in Kerala, the kind of folk art we see in Northeast are vastly different. Why not just Kerala and Northeast, even if you say in Bengal, you mentioned Kalighat, um, there is Bengali Alpona. Even within Alpona, there are three different disciplines of work, right? So this leads me to a question which even Chitra is asking: how easy or difficult is it to come up with one form of art that represents, that at least aims to represent all art forms of India?
Uh, Honestly, it's not one unique style. This is a process. So when I started out with creating this style, understanding and studying the principles, I'm not limiting it to a certain style. Folk indica itself translates and is not confined by boundaries to any region. I mean, day to day, I'm gathering my experience, and day to day, it is showcasing in different uh, artworks that I'm doing over the years. You can see the progress in the artworks as well. And day to day, I'm adding different styles into it. Day to day, I'm adding various color palettes into it. So this is a progression, and this is also an exploration. Folk indica is not limited because see, it's very difficult to limit it in today's world. Initially, what used to happen is, why did we have different folk art for different states? Is because it was not easy to communicate. Communication channels were very difficult, and people used to travel not as much as they do today, right? The medium of travels have also is way easier and way lot more than the age old traditions that we have of traveling and ways of communication. So you cannot in today's time limit art to a place. So this style is not limited to Odisha or say West Bengal or say Kerala. This is transcending all the boundaries. And as I said, it's a process. So what a process does is it incorporates everything that is seen and explored around that. So I will say that folk indica gives, along with the diversity that I will try to bring on the canvas, it also gives me a freedom to explore more. So it's not anyway limiting in nature.
Sudarshan, where do you see yourself in the larger picture, in the larger wildlife conservation landscape? Where do you see yourself contributing the most and most effectively?
Okay. Uh, if you see my work today,
Wow.
you will get a hint of how it's in a direction of be it wildlife, be it conservation, or natural world to be.
Are I am sorry to interrupt. Are this published work?
Uh,
Because
the works that I'm showcasing right now.
no, this one, is it there on the internet? Not this one. Is
Okay,
it
this
there on the internet?
is yet to be published.
Ah, that is why.
Come really soon. Yeah. Yeah. So what I was talking about is how, as an artist, my work is to do. If you scroll through the work that I have posted in recent times, you'll get an idea about how it is linked to environment or our natural neighbors, nature neighbors. But as an artist, my job is to take a subject, take a story, and depict it. And because of certain commissions work that have been coming my way, and because they are seeing a certain kind of work that has been done by me, so similar kind of clientele or audience is also reaching out, and it has paved the way into the natural world. But I'm, as an artist, I'm very open to learning and studying about newer experiences. For example, the artwork that you're seeing in the screen right now is the artwork that I did for a scientist based in US, and this is regarding how the microbiology of plants and the organisms that eventually play an important role in the agro field. So the scientist wanted me to work on artwork that could make people aware of what the scientists eventually do, because what happens is the scientists are a community today, the artists are a community today, and eventually what happens is we work in silos. So what is important for us as artists are to bridge the gap between these communities. So when I, as an artist, is used by the scientific community to convert that data into visuals, it becomes easier for the community, the people, to understand what a scientist, what the work the scientist does. So this is the use of the same.
I see an excellent use of shapes. I are these. Did you try to consciously make cells and then put shapes into it? I see wonderful shapes there.
So these are simpler, I mean, folk indica depictions of a very complex ecosystem that has been, captured by the microscope. So this is a very simpler depiction of the same.
Yeah. Okay. Show us more of these unpublished work. Do you have?
So there are not a lot of unpublished work that I, but yeah, because we were talking about how research-driven artworks uh, are being done today. So this is one a very important topic that is there in our country right now. Uh, the presence of black tigers in Odisha, right? And black tigers in general attract a lot of attention because they are not normal in nature, and they have a lot of melanin content in them, and that is what has led them to become black. But the research says another story. So 13 years of research by a scientific community in Bangalore led to this. One of the result is that because of inbreeding, because of the lack of uh, co-adjoining forests, because of the lack of tiger movement, has led to this recessive gene in tigers, which has led to the tigers becoming black. So even though they attract a lot of attention and lot of ecotourism, could come up in Odisha because of the black tigers, but there is a backstory to it too, which people need to understand. So that genetic mutation has been shown as border in this image, and how the black tigers, are in the field, and what kind of environment is what they prefer to live in, has been depicted over here.
Well, the lack of tigers roaming around freely across different forests is primarily due to human beings. Okay, so human beings have made paths, they have divided forests, made cities, uh, destroyed climate. What are your views on this ever changing climatic conditions and its impact on the wildlife?
See, I mean, change is a constant. Uh, Nature changes, weather changes, people change, everything change. But if there is a certain level of change which is influxed, in a negative way or in a forced way, then that impacts us back. So when we're talking about climate change, we obviously, what we mean is, see, climate changes. There are different climates, there are different weathers, there are different conditions that human live. But what, as a subject, when we say it's climate change, what we mean is the drastic change in the climate which our body is not able to adjust to. So we as humans, uh, I don't know how much of a blame we can take for that, but we have to bear the the consequences of the same. So I, as an artist, can portray what we have done to the environment, what is the condition that is at present in the environment. But as a society, we will have to look it from the perspectives of everyone, from the perspectives of doctors, writers, engineers. All of them have to see it as a whole, because we have to, survive as a whole. So that is what my understanding of climate is.
You mentioned that everything changes. Like if you see, even culture changes. So maybe when we have maybe when we have another conversation, because this is, we are through 46 minutes, maybe we discuss how a specific culture and depiction of wildlife in one specific art form has evolved over the years. You are trying to evolve, you are trying to accelerate the process as well. But it would be interesting to discuss, say, how different parts of India depicts a specific icy hornbill. Yeah, how different parts of India depict one specific animal, or the impact of one specific animal on a particular culture and how they have been depicted over, say, the last 500-600 years.
Sure.
And it's just not tigers, because a lot have has been spoken about tigers. If you see birds, you showed a hornbill. Hornbills have a lot of folk stories in northeast of India. That's a monal. Hmm. uh, Turtle. Different cultures have spoken about these. Different cultures have depicted these animals, and even in religious texts, a turtle slash tortoise is one of the avatars of Vishnu.
True.
So this might be a very interesting conversation
Okay.
which we might have in the future.
Sure. Sure.
Please show us more
Yeah.
of
So
these. Yeah.
yeah, so what you're seeing in the screen right now is a series that I did, which I call My Picture of Divinity.
Hmm.
So when we say divinity or divine, we eventually tend to, talk about ourselves and our relationship with the divine. But if you're open about looking at things quite more openly, you will get to see a lot of relationships existing in nature as well, not just limiting to ourselves and our relationship with the wild, but among the wild also there are a lot of relationships. So the first one that you see is the relationship among the old trees and the hornbills. How the tree becomes the womb of the forest, how the tree becomes the womb of the hornbill and a future forest in making. So that is the depiction in the first artwork. And the second artwork is the relationship between the land, the sea, and the turtle. As you can see, this
With the
is
moons.
yeah, yeah. So this has been drawn. So these are my personal experiences that I have portrayed in form of relationship. So the turtle is something that binds the sea and the land. So that is what has been depicted over here and how it carries on for generations. So this phenomena takes place in a large scale in the coastal lands of Odisha, which is Ganjam district.
Aribada.
Yeah, Haribada. It's called Haribada. So that relationship has been shown over here. If I come to the next,
Could you please go back?
yeah,
You put a snake there, so there's a direct hint to the Hindu texts.
exactly, exactly. That was the mythological relationship that we have
Yes.
with turtles. Yeah,
Shomudra Monthon. I do not know how to say this in English.
Mudaman.
Sorry.
King of ocean.
So you kind of mixed the mythology. You also depicted some part of the mass nesting, the Aribadas, eggs, eggs hatching, and then the turtles going off to the sea, the blue. What about the moon?
So the movement of the turtle depends on the moon cycle also. So moon
Okay,
plays
yeah.
an important role in the tidal aspect of Earth. So I mean it's a key component. So the layers of moon is eventually has a very direct relationship with the ocean. So yeah, that's why the depiction.
So when you put in elements of religion into your artwork, is that a conscious choice? Is
Uh,
that a choice to make it resonate with people, or do you put it because you feel it is in some way relevant?
it is very relevant because this is how different organisms have been related to us, even though we share a common space which is Earth. But there are various aspects through which we relate to them. So mythology or be it history has been a mode of creating relationship with the organisms, and it plays an important role in understanding that organism as well, because we see a kind of depiction, we see a kind of portrayal of the same. So I think that's a aspect of art that we cannot omit.
Okay. So right now, what I'm doing is I'm just collecting pointers from you, which I will use in my the next time I have a talk with you. Basically, show us more.
So yeah, this is the same artworks from the same series. The left one is the relationship between the owl and the darkness. The darkness
Mm-hmm.
for us has had a negative connotation, but the owl sees through the dark. You know,
Yeah.
darkness also relates to unknown, and the unknown is what has much more than the known, is what I believe in. So that is the relationship that what the owl, the wise owl, has with darkness. And on the right, you see a woodpecker and its relationship with an ailing tree, how they are called the doctors of the forest, and how they ail the trees. So that beautiful relation is shown over here.
Both of them are eating. The owl is eating a mouse.
Yeah. Yeah, so yeah, that is to denote what the prey base of that particular species
Yeah.
is, because you have to be a bit of scientific temper has to be there so that people, relate it scientifically as well. Then we come to a series that I call Birds in Our Hearts. So these are the species which hold a very, uh, quite a importance for me. So this is an Himalayan monal. I mean, the kind of colors and the kind of environment that they live in, that they exist in, holds a very dear place for me. And yeah, that's what the artwork is all about. And I've done a lot of such handmade paintings. For example, Siberian cranes who used to visit us, and there's a story as to why they stopped visiting us. Then there is Himalayan quail that that the scientific community saw 100 years back, and we are still into the lookout for the same. So those kind of birds hold a special place in my heart. So I've drawn a series for them. I'll just go through these paintings, which, even though the tiger is a very common animal for us, but the relationship that exists in different nooks and corners of India with respect to tigers is very important for us with the scientific temper that we have today. It's quite important because the thing is, with time, the relationship has digressed a bit, because culturally or traditionally we have had a kind of relationship in which we understood the species more. So exploring this subjects all across India and creating those artworks could give a youth, a person in today's time, an idea of the kind of relationship that we had and the kind of relationship we can look forward to build in future. So these are artworks from the, various regions of India. Same goes with elephants. I mean, the relationship with our heritage animals. There is a reason that they are called heritage animal, and they have a significant. The relationship is quite significant in terms of you know its presence in our country. So this is a depiction of the scene. Yeah.
Are you very religious?
Uh, I don't know.
No, I ask this because I see a sufficient amount of indication towards religion. Elephant doing Surya Namaskar.
So that's actually a depiction of an wild elephant and the depiction of elephant as a Ganesh. So it shows
Okay.
two women worshipping the wild one as well as the depiction in human form, which is Lord Ganesh. So how we worship elephants in both its form.
This is incredible. When can we see artwork from you which emphasizes more on the cruelty human beings do on animals? Because I ask this because you have shown some of the elephants. There are instances more than just one where elephants in different temples are not treated very well. Will you be their voice? Will your art be their voice at some point in time?
So I'll take you, towards when you go a little more back, you'll get to understand that this conflicts of today, the relationship that we have with the organisms today, is a result of certain activity, and that activity is a result of certain understanding. So the reason why I'm depicting this relationships that we had traditionally, that culturally, is so that we mend our activities, so that we understand the relationship and the importance it holds, that it held and still holds. And if you hold that relationship, you won't do any kind of activity which will lead to such kind of conflicts or torture to animals. So I try to fit into that space wherein I mean, where we don't become the culprits, we understand and move in a better way.
We are coming to the end of the conversation, not because I've run out of questions, but because we are really short of time. Uh, I'll ask you three different questions, and that will be followed by a rapid fire because my bhai wants it. Uh, Try to summarize it in a sentence. So if I say, what does it take to create an art form which is intrinsically local but with a global appeal? What does it take an artist to make that?
So the reason why I go local in terms of depictions of certain artworks, for the global outlook part, I had earlier spoke about how the contemporarization of the same is necessary so that the stories have to be global. You are talking to a larger audience today. We have that kind of technology available for us to take our stories there, but at the same time the style has to be local so that it has a certain kind of representation. So the regional style pertains to a regional kind of audience. So what happens is, uh, I mean, if you go back, these styles were practiced by a certain level of people, certain communities, and they understood it very well. So I think that these folk mediums uh, represent they represent very well the local scenarios, and they receive the reception of the same is also very essential by the local audience, right? So even though the artworks are regionally themed, but they are also contemporarized so that it is taken to a global audience, because any global story needs a certain kind of depiction. So both of this work together. The art styles could be different pertaining to different regions, but at the same time you have to be global. The story can go global, and global mediums are also available.
If somebody today wants to be an artist in this domain of work, what would be your three top tips?
Three top tips for artists. I mean, I mean, there's a lot to do in any field. I mean, you research, you are eager to learn, and lots of activities pertaining to that certain subject. That particular subject. I mean, if you are an artist, you obviously have to draw, right? You it's not necessary to have a certain medium. It doesn't have to be a brush. It can be clay, it can be mud, it can be anything. You have to be open about it, and if you actually want to create something new and not replicate, then you will have to explore more. So I don't know if I have picked the three points, but yeah, this is the main frame for it.
Um, in one or two sentences, what is the kind of impact Sudarshan Shaw has already created in the field of conservation through his art?
So technically, because of the reception of the artworks and the kind of awareness, the potential it holds in creating awareness, uh, many people have been associating with us to draw subjects in folk indica and publish it all over the country and the world. And I mean, this has a certain impact, tangible impact. But other than that, as an artist, I mean, my work is to draw and draw and paint, and there are people who will eventually value your work, will understand what kind of place that artwork can eventually go and be of importance. So those kind of people will associate with you, and I'm very thankful to the the community, the people who think that this kind of mediums and this kind of artworks have something in them and have that capacity to make people aware regarding certain subjects.
50 years down the line, and I promise this is the last question before the rapid fire. 50 years down the line, when you have grandchildren, what is the story you want to tell them that you will be most proud of? Sorry for asking you this question.
Good question. I mean,
So you are an 8-year-old grandfather to a lot of grandchildren,
okay.
and
Thank you.
what is what is the one thing that you will be extremely proud of and that's the story you will tell your grandchildren that you have done in the next. From that point of view, you have done in the last 50 years.
Very simple. I mean, I just hope that they see hornbills in their natural environment. I just hope they see tigers. I just hope they see elephants roaming around. Uh, I'm not saying necessarily without conflicts. I think they will be there. There will be conflicts, but I just hope that they are, lucky enough to eventually see these beautiful beings, and the relationship continues.
We have overshot the time by 2 minutes. So we'll very quickly go to the rapid fire. We have a lot of things to discuss. My mind is like bursting with questions right now, but we're terribly out of time. So just 5 questions, okay?
Sure.
And be very quick to answer. We want real, authentic answers from you.
Okay.
One animal you love to draw again and again, which is not a tiger.
Hornbills.
Okay. Pen and paper or digital tools?
Pen and paper.
Which is your most favorite traditional art form? Choose only one.
Kalika.
What is the most difficult species you have ever illustrated?
Yeah, certain species are difficult in terms of observing those
Just
kinds of
one.
species. So I would say fishes. I mean, it's difficult to understand them a bit. Yeah.
What is that one color you associate the most with nature?
Okay. I mean greens, but earthy ochre yellow as well.
What is your spirit animal?
I don't know. Jaguar.
Jaguar.
Yeah.
I have more questions, but I will not ask them now. To all those who joined us today, thank you so much for staying. Like all of you who joined, all of you stayed till the very end. This is a very good thing. This discussion was very engaging. I hope, Sudarshan, did you enjoy this?
Oh, absolutely.
Did it feel like an interrogation?
No.
I loved this talk. There were a few of the artwork that are not published yet, and he showed us. This is the ultimate idea that has led to Mohitji and Wildlife Trust of India to come together, and other stakeholders, and also me, to come together and make the global wildlife fair, where different stakeholders who work towards conservation, towards wildlife, towards ecotourism, they come together and discuss things which otherwise they couldn't do possibly, hoping that when everybody come together on a singular platform, some magic is created. Through the podcasts, this is the 5th episode. Previously we had an author, one conservationist, one filmmaker, one photographer, and today we have with us an illustrator. And the 5 guests are also from very different parts: Bangalore, Mumbai, Ladakh, Manipur, and Bhubaneswar. Different perspectives, but all of us working together towards pushing the boundary a bit more and saving a natural world. Sudarshan, any closing remarks from your end?
Yeah, I mean, this podcast is a part of Global Wildlife Fair, and I'm very much looking, forward to such kind of an event taking place in our country. And I would, encourage more and people join the same and learn more about our natural world.
And I hope to see you there.
So,
Thank you so much, Sudarshan. This has been such a pleasure having this talk with you.
it's been a pleasure for me as well, Anirban. Thank you so much.
Bye bye.